Well, hello. I know it's been a long time, but been sick, been on vacation, all kinds of things. But anyway, today I really want to talk about the sociopath next door. We've either been married to one, we've known one, or we are still married to one. Anyway, just joking about that. So, just want to check in with everybody and see how you've been doing. And I hope you're here. I'm not very good at this. I don't claim to be very good at this. I don't even know where you see chat. So, there you go. How about that? Anyway, let's see. What are we going to talk about today? Anyway, let me get this back over here. And, all right. So, the first thing I want to do is talk about the difference between a sociopath and a psychopath. A lot of people interchange those two, but they're really not the same, although they do belong in the same antisocial behavior group. So let's start right there, okay? Now, the first thing I'm going to do is read the description of a sociopath, which is what we're going to talk about today. So hang on just a second. Let me get to my information that I have been saving for this, and we'll go from there. So anyway, let's see. Cancel that. All right. Okay. So we're going to start with sociopath. All right. Antisocial personality disorder, sometimes called sociopathy, is a mental health condition in which a person consistently shows no regard and ignores the rights and feelings of others. We've all known people like that. I know we have. Now we're going to go and talk about what is the psychopath. Okay? Let's see. Let me go back over here. A psychopath. Where's my little thing at here? Whoops. Well. Let me get back to it. It's kind of giving me a problem here. All right. Hang on. It's not wanting to show up, which is totally my fault. Nobody else's fault but mine. And that's okay too. We're just, learning as we go here. Because last time my microphone didn't even work, which really sucked. I didn't know what I was doing. Of course not. But anyway, here we go. Back to what we're doing. All right. Psychopaths, they're very calculating. They may plan out their behavior and have more self-control than a sociopath. They're charming. They may be superficially charming and blend into society. Exploitive. They may have exploited others for they may exploit others for personal gain, and manipulative. They may lie, manipulate, and deceive others for personal gain. Now that's the psychopath. I know they get very confusing, don't they? Because you think, we call people, oh my God, he's a sociopath, but really he might just be a psychopath. But anyway, so I've been doing this series. It's called Facts or Is It? I really want to talk about like true crime shows, that kind of thing. I mean, books, that kind of thing. I don't really want to do true crime because let other people who are good at that do that, because that's just not what I'm going to do. So, the name of our book is The Sociopath Next Door. Now, I've read part of this book, but let me get my little glasses so we can talk about this. Just thought about really just going back over here to chapter 1 and just kind of going from there, because, it's hard to detect these people in society. I mean, Lord, that's how we end up married to them when we don't want to be. All right. Let me go to this little first page here. Okay. It's called, the first chapter talks about the seventh sense. It's about, like this guy's running late. He's extremely important meeting, and, they can't go without him. He starts promptly at 8 o'clock. He needs to keep up means just about everybody and a good impression with more senior members of his firm, which means just about everybody. And he would like to have the first word with these wealthy clients, whose concerns include, we're going to call him Joe's budding specialty of estate planning. Now, unfortunately, the furnace in Joe's house breaks. Okay, so this is the big problem for him. So what does he do? He calls in and he starts telling those lies right away, manipulating those people, wanting to, even though it's not really a lie. But he's not telling him that the house has got a problem. He's telling him that he has an emergency, and it is an emergency if it's cold. So anyway, it's just this weird thing over here. So Joe is speeding along after he gets his little furnace fixed and he goes into work. And he's speeding along, clenching his teeth and swearing under his breath at slow drivers. All the drivers, really. He reinterrupts a couple of red lights. He's trying to just speed past them, really, and clings frantically to the hope that he can somehow make it to the office by 8 o'clock. When he hits the 3 green lights in a row, he thinks, I may succeed. With his right hand, he reaches over to touch the overnight bag in his passenger seat to reassure himself that he remembered to bring it. In addition, everything else, he has to catch a 10:15 plane. Woo boy. He's going to go to New York this morning, a trip for the firm, and there will be certainly no time after the meeting to go back home to get his things. Okay, he's trying to plan ahead, which is good. His hand contacts the cushiony leather, which that's kind of silly, of his bag, and it's there and it's packed. He's happy now. He's packed. And at the very moment that Joe remembers, he forgot to feed Reebok. Reebok is Joe's 3-year-old blonde Labrador retriever. So named because before he got too busy at the firm, Joe used to take early morning runs with enthusiastic new pet. When work took over and the morning time routine changed, Joe fenced in a small backyard and installed a doggy door in the basement, allowing the dog into the yard and to have access in and out of the house on his own. At this point, he runs together in the park and weekend. He would take the dog on the weekends to the park, but for the most part, this dog would just have to go in and out the dog door. Okay, a lot of us do that. It's okay. Then he says, what is he talking about next? Then so he forgot to feed the dog. So he calls somebody and, he gets the dog fed. Then Joe kind of remembers, sometimes when he goes on these business trips that, Joe, like today, Joe is gone from home for a day and a half or even a little longer. And each time he comes back, Reebok greets him at the door with abounding joy and instantaneous forgiveness. Before he takes one of those trips, Joe always leaves large mixing bowls full of food and water for Reebok to consume. Wow. I don't think I'd do that for my dog. I prefer to get a doggy sitter. I mean, really, you're taking a chance there. Anyway, we'll get back to Joe. Maybe I can call someone to help out. Joe thinks desperately, but no, he's in between girlfriends. Oh, probably because he runs them off because he is a sociopath. The dog has no food and maybe even no water. So anyway, he ends up giving the key to his house to somebody else. The impossibility of his situation begins to dawn on him, and he grips the steering wheel even harder. He absolutely must make the meeting, and he can be there on time. However, he just keeps on going, but he's still thinking about Reebok. What's he going to do? He will not starve to death in a day and a half. Joe knows, but he will be miserable. And the water, how long does it take an animal to die of dehydration? Isn't that horrible? Oh my. Joe has no idea. Still driving as fast as the traffic will meet. He tries to think about his options. The available choices tumble over in his head, just over and over. He can attend the 8 o'clock meeting and then go home, feed the dog, but this will make him miss his 10:15 flight. And the trip is even more important than the meeting. He can go to the meeting and leave in the middle of the meeting. He's already planning. Oh, no. No, that would be seen as offensive, and it would be. It's rude. He can try to get a later flight, but then he will be very late for his appointment in New York, maybe even miss it in entirety, which could cost him his job. He can ignore the dog until tomorrow. He can turn around now, miss the 8 o'clock meeting at the firm and take care of the dog, and still make it to the airport for his 10:15 flight. Like a man in pain, Joe moans loudly and slumps in his seat. Just a few blocks from work, he pulls the car into a spot marked construction only, dials the office on his cell phone, and tells his secretary to inform those at the meeting that he will not be attending. So he made the choice. He's going to take care of the dog instead of go to the meeting. he turns the car around and goes back home to feed the dog and take him some water, which, good, he should. The dog needs to be taken care of. Of course, then the next thing that goes on is, what is his conscience? What is his conscience, Amazing. From a certain point of view, the human being we are calling Joe decides to be absent from an important meeting with some wealthy clients. An event has spent several days planning for it. And where is his personal interest quite clearly reside. At first, he does everything he can to get to the meeting on time, risking all the possessions in his townhouse to a repairman he has never met before, his own physical safety in his car. And then at the very last minute, he turns around and goes home to feed a dog. Well, he should go home to feed the dog. Anyway, Joe sacrifices a high-stake desire of his own in favor of an action that no one will witness except maybe the repairman. A choice that will not enrich him even one penny. What could possibly cause a young, ambitious lawyer to do such a thing? Most readers will smile a little when Joe turns his car around. We feel pleased with him for going back to feed his dog. But why are we pleased? Is Joe acting out of conscience? Is that what we mean when we make an approving remark about someone's behavior, such as his conscience stopped him? Did it? You don't know. Hang on a second, y'all. Let me look at something. You know what? I think I've done something wrong here. Let me see. I don't see anything. I don't see any comments. I don't see anything. I hope I've not been sitting here reading this book and talking about this and, forgot to turn on record, forgot to turn on something. So let's see. Let me go over here. Oh, come on, mouse. Let's do right. Okay. Well, okay. There we go. We can chat. Comments. All right. Let's see. Well, let's see. I don't know. I can't see the chat, so I don't know if you're out there or if you're not. I have no idea. Okay, so we're just going to keep on reading because I really can't see it. I really don't know much about StreamYard. I mean, I'm surprised I could even get it going today. But all right, here we are. What is this invisible, inescapable, frustrating, incorruptible part of us we call a conscience anyway? The question is complicated, even as it pertains to the simple vignette about Joe and Reebok, because surprisingly, there are a number of motivations other than conscience that separately or together might cause Joe, or might cause any of us, to make, oh Lord, I don't lose your place, to make an apparently self-sacrificing choice. For example, perhaps Joe simply cannot stomach the thought of returning from his New York trip to find his Labrador retriever dehydrated. Sorry, my dogs are going to bark, sorry. And dead on his kitchen floor. Not knowing how long a dog can survive without water, he is unwilling to take the risk. Thank God. But his aversion to the horrifying scenario is not exactly his conscience. It's something more like revulsion or fear. Now that's interesting, isn't it? I think it's interesting anyway. Or maybe Joe is motivated by what the neighbors will think of him when they hear Reebok howling in hunger, or worse, if they learn the dog has died, alone and trapped, while Joe was on a business trip. How will he explain to his friends and acquaintances? This worry is not really Joe's conscience either, but rather his anticipation of serious embarrassment and social rejection. If this is why Joe goes back home to feed his dog, he is hardly the first human being, He's hardly the first human being to make a decision based on dread of what others will think of him. You know what? We know a lot of people like that. Look at Letitia Stouch. Look at some of these other people who kill their children or unalive their children. I should say that instead. And what do we remember them saying? Oh, y'all are not going to, that didn't happen, you shouldn't think about like that about me. I would never do something like that. Just that stuff. But we know what she did. But anyway, we're going to go back to this. Okay. The opinions of other people keep us all in line, arguably better than anything else. Or maybe this is all a matter of the way Joe sees himself. Perhaps Joe does not want to view himself in his own mind's eye as the kind of wretch who would commit animal abuse. And his self-image as a decent person is crucial enough to him that what he has no other alternative, he will forego an important meeting in the service of preserving that image. Because, he's all about his image. The preservation of self-image is a motivator of some notoriety. In literature and often in historical accounts of human action, dedication to one's own self-regard is referred to as honor. Lives have been forfeited. Wars have been fought over honor. It is, let's turn the page. It is an ancient concern. And the modern field of psychology, how we view ourselves, translate to the newer concepts of self-esteem, a subject about which more psychology books have been written than perhaps any other single topic. Maybe Joe is willing to relinquish a few career points today in order to feel okay when he looks at himself in the mirror tomorrow, in order to remain honorable in his own eyes. This would be laudable and very human, but it's not his conscience. The intriguing truth of the matter is that much of what we do that looks like conscience is motivated by some other thing altogether: fear, social presence, pride, even simple habit. And when Joe is concerned, a number of readers will strongly favor an explanation other than his conscience because some of his behaviors are already questionable. We know what Joe is. He routinely leaves his young dog alone for many hours at a time, sometimes for nearly 2 days. This very morning, though, he is skipping his meeting and going home to feed the dog. He still intends to make the 10:15 flight, and he's gone until the following evening. Reebok will have no one to be with and nowhere to go except a small fenced-in backyard. Consigning a dog to such a situation is not very nice. It reflects at best a certain lack of empathy on Joe's part for the animal's social needs. That a lot of people are like that. Still, truth to tell, being nice would be necessarily be his conscience either. For brief periods, any reasonable, clever sociopath can act with saint-like niceness for his own manipulative purposes. And people who do possess conscience are often unkind despite themselves, out of ignorance. Or, as in Joe's case, perhaps inadequate empathy or just run-of-the-mill psychological denial. Wow. Nice behavior, prudent actions, thoughts about how other people will react to us, honorable conduct in the interest of our self-regard, like conscience. All of these have positive effects on the world at least most of the time, and any of them might get the dog fed sometimes, but none can be defined as the individual's conscience. This is because conscience is not a behavior at all. No, something that we do or even something that we think or mull over. Conscience is something that we feel. In other words, conscience is neither behavior nor cognitive. Conscience exists primarily in the realm of affect, better known as an emotion. Wow. See, some of this stuff is very interesting. And, I never really studied psychology or anything like that. I mean, hell, I'm just a mom over here and raise some kids, which I think I've done a really good job at, but just trying to find a way to fill my time. So I thought, well, I want to learn these things. And we watch a lot of true crime. And in this true crime, we always have all these people that are be called a sociopath or a psychopath or whatever it may be, So I don't know. I just wanted to start my little book series and talk about true crime books and people in general and let people come up and tell their stories. I mean, if anybody would like to come up and talk about, your own personal life, please do. I don't mind at all. In fact, I think it makes us feel better if we talk about things. So anyway, let me get this over here. I don't know why I can't see anything. This is so silly. Oh, Lord. I don't know if let me see if I can even find this on. Oh, Lord, I need somebody who knows how to run this. Oh, boy. I guess I really don't know. which is terrible. Just terrible. Let's go. Let's go look at this. I don't even know if it's on there. I have no idea. Let's see. Is it showing up? Oh my God. Are you telling me we've been going for 20 minutes here and nothing shows up? Oh, hang on. Let me see if I can find it. Okay. Hang on, y'all. Hang on a minute. Let's see. It says end recording. We did. Okay, now ready to go. I don't know. Let's go back over here and let's see. Settings. No, we're still in the studio, so I don't really know what we're doing. Save changes. Okay, are we live? Okay, now it says we're recording. I guess. I don't know. I don't know what happened to it. I can't see anybody. I don't see anything. And when I go over to my channel, I still don't see anything. So is it working? Hell, I don't know. I wish so. I wished I knew. But anyway, let's go see. So we've done part of this first chapter, and I think it's kind of interesting because she's kind of telling us a few things about the differences and the actions and the reactions and the differences between emotions and conscience. And I think it's interesting. Anyway, so we're going to move on, and I'm just going to keep reading for a minute, and let me see what else I can do here because I don't really know how to get to any of the rest of this. Hang on a second. This is so silly. Maybe I should refresh. What do you think? Okay, we'll refresh it. Oh no, it says reload.